What advice would you give to a seller who is about to enter the DACH market?
Focus on good conversations. Don't focus on the sale, on the quota. Just try to have a good conversation and reflect this at the end of the day. What was the outcome of this conversation? Do I understand the values of the customer? Do I understand his pain point, his situation? Do we have the right solution for him? Makes sense to go further with him.
Thank you so much for listening to the first ever English sales podcast for the German-speaking market. Before we continue, I want to make you a promise. I promise that with this show, I will do my utmost best to bring in the guests and share the stories that help you succeed in the DACH market. But I can only do so much. So, if you hit the subscribe button, I can get more guests, bigger stories, and better insights to help you succeed in your sales job. So, with no further ado, sit back, relax, and let the show begin. Ibrahim, what would you say are the most common mistakes salespeople do when negotiating with prospects in the DACH market?
Yes, what I see, or what I often see, is the salespeople getting too early involved into price negotiations. So, because I know it's a common instinct thing, because when you go shopping, for example, you pay at the checkout and then you're finished and you go home. So it's normally that when the price negotiations come up, or the customer talks about the price, you think, okay, this is a closing situation, and this is what a lot of people mess up the sale at the end, because the price negotiation is just a part of the whole process. So
I feel like pricing is such a big point, and every seller I know is terrified of that question, just because you're like, did I give them enough value so that the price is justified for them or not? How would you prevent talking about pricing at the beginning? Like, are there specific things when someone is like, how much does it cost? How do you not tell them what it costs?
Yeah, I get back with an answer. So, like, what are you looking for? Or what is the thing why you're looking for a solution? Because at the end, we can go about the price, but is this what you are looking for? Just you're looking for a solution that you can solve, or that you have it in your company? Or would you like really to try to solve any pain points? So, if the customer comes directly with a price, so I'm asking him first, what are you looking for exactly?
I like that. Would you say that's one of your 3 key strategies in negotiation in DACH?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I have selected 3 points in one strategy. For example, active listening leads to active listening. So you need to understand the customer and his situation. And if he feels that you understand his situation, he will active listening to your opinion, to your solution, what you offer him. And this is very important. So this is, also a way to make an alternative way to have customized offer for him directly, or a specific offer for him if you understand his situation.
That's one, right? What are the other 2?
At the end, I always say, for example, if you understand the customer, you can make a specific or a customized offer to him, like what he really need. And this is one of the most important thing after, and this just you find out with active listen, because there is a point, if the points or the offer is too far away from the customer, then a lot of questions comes up. So there is where the negotiation starts. And so you need to really understand the customer so you can make him a really specific offer. And then at the end, to close or to bring the whole negotiation to a point, end it with a 3-point yes street, the classic way, set the points and the next steps. Set the right expectation for what's going on for the next meeting. Where do we stand right now?
What really struck me when I listened to your masterclass was that you told me that you never really got into a negotiation because you always stop it when it gets risky. So when I ask you, well, we recorded the masterclass, when I asked you about like, okay, what are the strategies? What do you think? And you were like, honestly, I have been in so many negotiations without knowing it was a negotiation just because it didn't feel like one. What would you say is your approach to prevent getting into that heated idea of a negotiation?
Big question. At the end, it's very difficult to prevent or not to go into a negotiation, because at some point there is everywhere, or at one point there is a small negotiation you have to do. But at the end is to, there's a fine line between go into a negotiation and to go into, make compromises, to go too far out of your circle, that you go too much on the customer side to give him what he wants, and this is not what's really dangerous. For example, it's the same like price negotiation. If you offer the price that customers want, and you give him the price, first thing, it sends the wrong message. Hey, at the end, the customer, maybe not today when he get the price he wants, but maybe tomorrow he will ask himself, hey, when he gives me this price, what price he gives to the next one? And so there comes a lot of questions you don't want to have. Yeah. And the other thing is, in a price negotiation, for example, when you go or give the customer the price he wants, your forecasting is messed up. So this is a very important thing, that you never forget your point and your stand. And okay, you can make, for example, to come alongside with the customer to give him like goodies, stretch the goodies. For example, when he wants to make, to have some, for example, not 3 months of a pilot project, stretch it to 6 months, but don't downgrade your product, the value of your product.
Yeah. Do you have specific ways of preparing for those calls?
Specific ways to preparing for negotiation in calls?
Yeah.
Negotiation in calls is, I like the face-to-face negotiation, yes. But sometimes you have...
I feel like that would terrify me, Ibrahim. I feel like I'd be terrified. Oh no, now I'm in the room. I can't just pretend my internet doesn't work.
No, 100% trust is everything. So, and face to face, you can build a lot of this up. A lot of trust. You can build a lot of relationship with the customer. You can also do it with the calls, no problem. It takes more time. Repeat the client's situation, show him that you understand his situation. This is very important. He needs to feel that you on his side, and that we go together on a place. That's very important for a customer to build this trust up. And if this trust is by 100%, you can, also you don't have to negotiate about the price.
What I really like to do was to make myself an ally to them rather than to my company. So if I'm giving them, I hit their budget, which is slightly under the list price, or like I go up in list price, I go up in price, and then show them that I'm hitting or meeting their budget. And then I can always say, oh, let me just check that with management. Obviously, I want to make sure that this is the best solution for you, but I also have to justify it with them. So can you give me something like you will start or you will sign by the end of today, or that little things like that? Okay, I give you what you ask for, but for that I need you to do something for me as well, because in the end I'm just the middle ground. Do you feel like that's a good strategy, or do you think actually, Helena, that you put yourself in a very weak position because you are like reducing the price, let's say, of your product? How do you see that?
It's a fine line. A fine line where you position yourself is very important. Of course, the customer needs to feel that you're fighting for him. So, but at the end, price negotiations, at the end, it's all about value. So never forget the bigger picture. For example, also in preparing for this negotiation or for this whole situation, never forget the bigger picture. For example, when I prepare for negotiation or for, I say, this closing situation, the first question I ask, also first I zoom out, focus on the client, what are the history I have with him. But at the end, I have one question I ask myself. So why are we sitting here today? So what do we want to go together? So, and this is the bigger picture. And this is what I always try to focus myself on when I'm also with the customer, with the company side. Hey, why are we doing this here? We want to go together to a point where we have a win-win solution or situation for all sides. And this is something you always need to looking for.
Would you say that's
because if you don't have to get to the why.
Yeah. Would you say that is the most important question? Because I feel like a lot of people say, hey, the first thing that you have to answer is what do they want? But I feel like the question that you just said, why are we here today? So there are three things. Why? We, today. So why the whole thing? Why we, especially us two? And why today at the time? I feel like that question covers three crucial parts. I feel like I just answered my own question. Yes, it is the most important question in the whole process. With that in mind, though, how do you see the... Yeah?
Yeah, this question is very important in every step of the process. Also, if you're stuck, for example, in negotiation, when you see, okay, it's getting longer, or there's some, the momentum is gone. This is a very important question. Hey, why are we doing this here? Why are we talking to each other? So just to clarify the situation and to see, okay, to get some things done and to see what's the next steps, Yeah. This is you can ask the customer in every situation, hey, why are we sitting here?
I feel like I could have increased my negotiation win rate so much if I asked that question more often. It often ends up in other questions. So I love that. I'm gonna write that down for later. I guess with that in mind, I have one question with regards to culture, because Vince, for instance, in his episode about discovery in the DACH market, he mentioned that commitment is quite important for German-speaking people, prospects, commitment and control, that they feel like they are in control of the conversation. What do you feel like are cultural differences in negotiation when you negotiate with a German speaker compared to others? Or are there any? And what are red flags? It's a loaded question, I know.
Yeah. It's for me, it's exactly a topic you should not to discuss. Business is business, and at the end we are sitting here for business. There is no space for political stuff or any other topics. We are going here to get a win-win situation for our businesses. So, and this should be the main point. It's maybe a little bit dry. It's just numbers, but it's this what at the end counts. So, and so this is you should focus on. And I know it's sometimes, especially if you need to build up trust and you need some personal stories you like to share, but it's a fine line that you not go too far away or too deep inside into a topic, for example, political views or something, your point of view, how the world should be. Very, very dangerous. So at the end, we are here for business, and just keep the focus on that, and that we can go together on a point. Of course, if you have some sustainable values and you would like to have these sustainable values too in your company you would like to work with. So looking for this, yes, this is something you can talk about. But at the end, don't go into too deep conversation, which has nothing to do with the business. So
I love that. Yeah, that's like such a I want to say German thing as well as like, you know what? I don't need small talk right now. Don't tell me things that aren't relevant. Stick negotiation, just as I say, negotiation is the purest business part that you will get in your sales process. That's the part when you talk about, okay, are we going to do this or not? You now know, okay, all of the value, you know what you can do, etc. Is that going to work or not? Why do you think a lot of people, I want to say are afraid of, but why do you think a lot of people fail in negotiation?
Fail, you know, it's a difficult question. There are a lot of thousands and millions of atoms which can go wrong to not get the sale done. So at the end, but you know, what I often see that people lose themselves too much. So like they're too focused on the sale, or they're too lot of pressure of the quota they should hit, and yeah, I see they make a lot of mistakes with not listening to the customer or asking like a question, why are we sitting here? You know, just to go more a step back and see the bigger picture. Say, hey, are we here on the right path for both sides?
Yeah.
You know, are you investing too much time to acquire this client and it costs you too much? Makes it sense? How long does it take to, you know, to get the return of your investment for acquiring this customer? So,
Yeah.
and this, so, sometimes I see people lose themselves too much, and then, you know, it's the energy you build around you, which then can lead to fail a sale, you know.
Hmm. I guess that brings us back to the most important question. Why are we talking today? Which is not only a question that you should ask them, but you should remind yourself of when you're in a negotiation and when they try to push back and they try to go down in price, etc., etc. Just for them to feel like they got a goodie, they are special. But in the end, reminding yourself of na 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 na, we are speaking today because that person is spending 70 hours a week on admin work that we can reduce to 0 hours, which is an overall value to them. And the reason why we have to talk today is because there's an, so literally just understanding the other person so much and the other point so much that you are confident in being able
Hmm.
to stand your ground. I think that's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
For example, you know, um, price negotiation. When the customer starts to ask you or start the price negotiation, why not respond with the question, what do you, before we go down with the price, what do you need to pay this price, what we can over deliver that you are
Yeah.
happy with this price? So then he will tell you, okay, what he really needs, or or ask him what will be the perfect offer to you to pay this price,
Hmm.
just to get a real point of view. Is
Yeah.
he not? Then at this point, you see a lot of customer. A part of them can really explain, hey, I don't see enough value, and the
Hmm.
others just want a lower price.
Yeah.
So, and there is some two different ways to negotiate with these people.
Yeah. Do you feel like, with that in mind, you can always approach a negotiation the same? So if you talk to an SMB, so small business, medium market, or enterprise, do you feel like it's always the same tactics, or are there different approaches that you need to use dependent on the company size?
Yeah. Um, when I would like to explain this, you know, there's two different ways. One is like the human, the vibe, your point of view.
Hmm.
What I told you, like the bigger picture, why are we sitting here? And the other thing is this facts, numbers, the business is business thing. And here, what you should recognize at the different sizes of the companies, the timeline it takes to close a deal.
Hmm.
Enterprise levels takes a longer time to close the deal as a small business, and this is the difference makes here the follow up strategies. And you know, some bigger companies have a requirement, some requirements you should uh, um, fulfill, or a specific process to acquire something. Like, for example, you have like a company working for the States or something, for the country. Then they say, hey, we need, or our requirement or our process is that we have to send the offers out, or the possibility for making offers to all the companies, and then we decide by them, you can't sell them. So it's just a special way of business. But sometimes also in bigger businesses, it's just a timeline and your follow-up strategies. The important thing is always keep in touch with your customer. News, updates. Sometimes just if he says to you, not now, we have the 3 months process, don't overload him, but keep him informed, because at the end, you always have to recognize they always looking for other offers too. So you are maybe not the only one who has an offer on the table. So they are looking for other offers too. So that's why you should be always informing them that you are always like the first on the list, because if you go down and it comes on day X where they make a decision, so they're looking and so say we need one now, and if you're not under the first three, it's very difficult, So you keep with the champion or with the CEO of the negotiation person, you have to discuss this whole situation to keep him always informed and keep in touch.
I feel like there are some sellers out there who might think, but how am I doing that? I have about 50 deals in the pipeline right now. I cannot keep everyone, like I cannot stay top of mind of everyone. How would you help people prioritize there?
A lot in whole sales process or negotiation process is setting the right expectation for both sides, that we all have the same point of view. And this is very important for yourself also to make exactly this priorities from the different customers. If you know, hey, I'm talking with this customer and this is our point of view and these are the next steps, so you know exactly when you have to get next in touch with him, and not just say, the most salespeople say, okay, I will send you, then we can look. Or they don't make very specific next steps or a detailed plan what is next to do. And this is something which, can mess up your follow-up or your prioritization of the different customers.
Yeah. Super, super interesting. Sorry, I'm just like processing it all right now. I feel like, especially in negotiation, there's so much with psychology and understanding where everyone is. One thing that I really like to do, and that didn't matter if it was a small business, mid-market, or enterprise, I always did a storyline presentation. So I started with, this is where we're coming from. This is your status quo. This is what I've understood. 3 points, not more than 3, because it's a golden rule. Shakespeare knew it already. We all know it. 3 points. These are the things that I understand you are struggling with, which will then turn into your ideal, your dream state. These are the things that you're trying to achieve. And this is how we can help you. And then I create that storyline of they will fix the problem and can already see themselves with the new status quo, with the idea of, sweet, if I don't have to spend 70 hours a week on admin anymore, then I can do D. And then the price is not a price anymore. It's actually just the next step. It's like, okay, sweet. I'm going to pay this now, and then I get this. This is kind of the storyline that I like to follow, which is why I always recommend people when they're in negotiations. The negotiation is literally, it's like a chat, but it's a chat in a frame. And the presentation, the storyline is my framework to keep it in on a playground that I have the complete control over. Is there something similar that you do? Something that you always start your sentence in that way, or you always send an email 5 minutes before the meeting just to make sure that they feel heard, they feel like they're top of mind, etc., etc. What do you usually do?
Yeah. What I like in presentations, for example, presentation is very important. So, and every step of the process is important, but discovery, get the information from the customer, know him, what his pain points are, where he stands now, what he have now, where he wants to go. And then the presentation, you started very nicely, where we are, where we come from, and then why are we sitting here? And then showing the data of the company, of the customer's company, what you can achieve or what would be happening in the future. And if you can show him with his company where you together can go at the end, and ask him at the end, the question like, so what does it take now that we can go this step? Then it opens the right conversation for negotiations. So I always say in presentations, you can build it up like, also my over topic is infotainment, The customer should be amazed from the presentation. He should recognize his company after your presentation in a new point of view, in a new light. What I see, hey, with this tool or with this partner, I can go like on this point. Wow. And then you ask him the question like, what does it need or what does it take now that we can go to these steps into this future? Then, then the customer is really open to discuss this with you.
In terms of culture, I feel like the point that you brought up with keep it super focused on the business, keep it super focused on be relevant. Relevant means, why are we speaking today? What would you say, especially in the DACH market, what are the common objections that you face in a negotiation that salespeople can prepare?
Yeah. I see a lot of objections, and I think everyone or every industry has like his own most common objections. But what I often see is like the objections from the customers. So I have other offers to check. So you are not the only one. So I have other offers to check, I would like to get an offer from another one. So just to compare, and then it's okay. It's normal, but at the end, what are you looking for? Why are you looking for a solution? Go a step back, and what is for you important? Just validate like 3 points. Hey, is it the price, or is it, the pain point, or why are you looking for a solution? This is so like, just clarify this. So, and you can offer to check, but just before you close the deal, give me the chance to compare my offer or make you a better offer.
That actually reminds me of RFPs, request for RFI, request for information, RFP, request for, what am I missing here? Right? Out of nowhere, like I literally had it on my mind. Request for proposal. Goodness. I literally just blanked. So what you just said reminded me of an RFP, request for proposal, which usually is happening with very big companies. So we, for instance, had an RFP with another company, with a company like VW, like freaking massive company. So what happens a lot on that size is they send that, they don't have a conversation with you, so you don't really have the time to kind of grasp a little bit. And in the end, they also have to compare it with like 2 or 3 competitors in the market before they're allowed to make a decision. If you never get to speak to them, is there a way of negotiating with an RFP? What do you think? Or do you say, honestly, guys, because we, for instance, in the company had a saying with RFP, unless it's like a VW account, where you generally spend hours researching, making sure that you get all of you get the information in the RFP. Are there ways of being successful without being able to have a conversation with them? Does that make sense what I'm saying, or is that very confusing?
Yeah, so you need a conversation with them. So at the end, I don't know how at the end you should sell a product or a partnership, or how at the end you need to to build a future, a vision, a win-win situation. How you don't want to do this without the communication? So
Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
to talk. You need to build this trust. All these things. For me, you can show me the one who makes without communication. I'm really open-minded to learn about it. But at the end, I want to know my customer.
Yeah.
Once I learned something very important. There are also people you don't want to have as a customer. So, and
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes they are complicated. If you see, when the price negotiation, you give them a better price, and then they call you every day, or this is not good, or they are not satisfied with the product, and it costs you more time, for the support or whatever the customers want, that you never have a return of investment. You
Mm.
know, so
Mm.
there are also customers who takes more money or more time from you that they at the end spend you. So
Yeah.
sometimes know your customer, check it out.
Mm. That's a good point. Sales goes two ways, and a lot of people forget that. I am very allergic to sellers putting themselves in a needy position, or like I'm less important than you position. I very much agree. You mentioned trust a couple of times. Seeing as DACH is known to be very data driven and very like, if the numbers don't fit, then I shall not buy. How important would you say trust is compared to the proven ROI or the business case that you can do with them?
Trust. You know, it's difficult. Yeah, we are like the DACH market is very data driven, and we are looking for track record, and how big are you, and how big is your name, and with which company you are working with, and what are all the success you already had. Of course, we are like this. We're looking for it. But one person told me this really really nicely one day. So, and this brought me back to, like, it's people business. For
Mm.
example, especially in startups,
Mhm.
there you can have a messed up product, or
Mm.
say not such a good product, but if the people behind it are very clever, the people will work with you because they
Mm.
see, hey, we can build this together to a point where it
Yeah.
fits for all. So,
Yeah.
but you can have the perfect product, and the
Yeah.
people behind it can drive it into the wall. So at the end, the people or the companies they want to working with, they're looking very exactly, who are the people. The people is at
Yeah.
the end the I see the key point.
Yeah. I think in the
I
end,
one
oh,
also
yeah.
I, I had the situation, like from to startup guys. They have a small company, and you need to know their product. They just works for enterprise companies, for big companies,
Mhm.
and now you have to imagine. To build trust, like for $100 million company, or like
Mm.
something like a deal like this, the company comes to your office, wants to
Mm.
check who are you, who are the people behind.
Mm.
They see the product, they made a lot of pictures, the product is perfect, the product shows the track record it should be, it meets all the expectation. But at the end, the big company sends lawyer to them into their office to see how are they working, is
Yeah.
this everything. And they told me, it's a little office they had, and they was a little bit so, like,
Yeah.
very nervous, because they come like a huge company comes to check and make a due diligence at your little small office to check if they can work with you.
Mhm.
And at the end, this was something, it opens me, you can have such a good product, and you can make such a professional work. At the end, the lawyer comes, they will check who are you, who are we working with. So,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
this is one of the most important things.
Wow. I have never heard a story like that, but that sounds terrifying. And it very much agrees with the things that, even with my last company, STS of Germany, when we changed from founder sales to head of sales, there was a dip in sale. Not because the head of sales wasn't great, but because out of nowhere, it took longer to create trust because you don't have the founder anymore. And even though the product stayed the same and everything was the same, and I also shadowed her, made sure that the sales was fine, there was that it took longer to build the trust just because in the end it's not the founder anymore, it's the seller. And that was super, super interesting with the trust, which people kind of underestimate. Do you feel like it's easier to build trust in person or online?
For me in person, you know, I of course you can do it online, and I like the remote because also I that we enter like a century where we can discuss like we now in this podcast that we can talk to each other over a video. So this is a very huge step towards into a personal conversation. Of course, at the end, if you drink something together, or you know, what is something that is a key point of trust is memories, creating memories together. You know, and if you have like a history together, you made a lot of things together. This is something where you have some situations, maybe good situations, difficult situations, where you see how the other works. It works in relationships, personally, it works in business relationships. You know, if you have a history, a positive history together, what builds more trust? And this also means for all the events, for example, it's now in DACH or startup or tech world, all the events, all the people where they can show up and to talk to each other. It's perfect because this is all points where we can build some memories together and at the end build also some trust together.
Yeah. It's so true, especially like you kind of bond then. One thing though that I do want to add is, have you ever read Culture Map by any chance?
Culture map?
Mm-hmm.
How you mean?
There's a book called The Culture Map. I'm gonna send you the link after because I think you really enjoy
Yeah,
it.
of course.
Guys, I'm gonna
Yeah, send me.
I'm gonna put a link in the notes just because it's mind blowing. Culture Map
Yeah.
is about it's literally a map that they created to understand different cultures, especially in the business environment. So you get you know how to communicate to an American as a German or to a French as a Japanese person, etc., etc. And one thing that was said in terms of trust is that Germans build trust fast based on task rather than time. So when you're working with someone and they are not doing a good job, but afterwards you go out for a drink, yes, it's super, super fun, but in a work environment, you won't trust the person that much because they haven't done the work properly. Whereas a Spanish person based on the book, if you don't meet the family, if you don't go out afterwards, if if you're someone who's more reserved, staying at home, then the person, no matter how great the work is, the person is always like, I don't really meet you personally, so I'm not sure if I can trust you, which was mind-blowing for me because for me it's very similar. Being a German, I'm like, if I ask you to do something and you do it half-heartedly, I don't trust you. I always feel like I have to check your work again. I always feel like, oh, I can't give you that because you're not going to do it properly. So I feel like with negotiation, especially with trust, is like, yeah, the first thing that comes. But you can get trust if you can't meet the person. You can get trust in just doing your job well. If you say that you send an email right after, then do it. If you know you have a meeting afterwards, don't say you're going to send the email right after. That's the little things that that's odd. Then you lied. So rather than saying that, being honest, say, hey, by the end of today, you're going to receive an email and you have to do it. Otherwise, if it takes a bit longer, there's always just a little bit of, So when the person says something, I'm not sure about this. What do you think about that, Ibrahim? Do you agree, or do you feel like actually maybe also from a Swiss point of view that might be completely different, seeing as you're Swiss?
Yeah. I like professional work. So I like when the work is done properly, and you know you have to make difference here about what these different situations is the outcome. You know, I understand you sometimes to go out and drink something together. It's like the team, on the human side. But the other thing is we have to go together through the storm. And through the storm, I need you, brother. I need, or sister. I need you. Like, hey, I need you back. And so I understand it. For me, it's both sides very important that we have, hey, that is the same point of view, like on a human side, on a private side, that we have like the same values, for example. It's not a requirement, but it helps, of course, a lot. But in the works also, it doesn't matter if you're a good drink buddy, but when you mess up the work, see after work, but I have to work with someone else. So.
Yeah. I feel like that helped me a lot to build trust in a work environment, especially with customers or with prospects, just knowing that that is what they're looking for, especially in the DACH market. What would you say is a memorable, what would you say is a memorable sales tactic then that taught you a lot, like something that you've learned that you might not have known before you started in sales? I'm asking all of the hard questions, Ibrahim.
Yeah, out of the nowhere. No, when I, from my sales point of view, I was always an optimistic guy. Or I'm always an optimistic type of human. I just see the positive things and the positive value, the positive outcome. Of course, I don't understand if someone sees a negative point in something optimistic, and this was since I was like 14, 15. I started my first cause to organize some parties. And so it's like always like the, straightforward. I don't know. I just see the positive things, the positive outcome. I never thought like, I can lose this amount of cash. I just say, hey, when it's successful, it will be happen this. Yeah. So, and I don't know, what I saw is that when I was going into professional sales and so, that the people have sometimes very this point of view changed. I see that the people not so optimistic like me. They don't have to focus like what can happen. So like in good times, so they focus on what happens in bad times. And this learned me like a lot of things. For example, that, especially when I was in investment, what I see, the people are not so interested in how much value they can receive. They're more interested, hey, how much money I cannot lose. So there's for them a huge point. So I make a 50,000 investment, but I rather don't lose this than make like $1 million out of it. So for them, it's more important not to lose than win. And this is I have another point of view. I see always the win. So
so you always need to make them feel like if they don't do it, then they lose something.
Yeah.
Did I get you? Oh, I love that. Yes. A lot of people, like, I think where we are at the moment is we really spent the time to understand psychology. Since I entered sales, I have learned so much about about the human brain, about how we function, and especially the loss focus, And Yoshi said that in his masterclass, in his episode as well, about cold calling. Like, focusing on the loss will trigger the urgency much more than focusing on the gain in the end. I guess with all of this in mind, right? Let's just say there's someone out there listening to this episode and saying, that's all nice and good, but where do I start? What advice would you give to a seller who is about to enter the DACH market?
At the end, DACH market or any market or sales, focus on good conversations. Hey, just, don't focus on the sale, on the quota. I know it's a pressure behind you, but at the end, just try to have a good conversation and, reflect this at the end of the day. Hey, what was the outcome of this conversation? Do I understand the values of the customer? Do I understand his pain point, his situation? Do we have the right solution for him? Make sense to go further with him, to see some bigger picture. That's very important, not just to focus so much on, I need to close it with every price. So no, just try a good conversation. Keep the conversation alive. Just have a positive impact. And then this is what I can tell you as a seller comes into DACH market or anyways into selling. Just focus on that and not get into this selling pressure from the quota.
Yeah. It's almost like have fun. Like you feel how you can have fun, and when you have fun, you just have a great, you enjoy the conversation as well. I love that. That's such a good advice, Ibrahim. I feel like I should have met you before I started in sales. I would have learned so much. We actually arrived at the end of the episode, and as always, I like to ask my guests one specific question. For those people who are listening, they obviously want something to get cracking right away. What are the 3 exercises, tasks they can do today to improve their negotiation game in DACH?
Yeah. Make a plan. So for yourself and your selling. So without a plan, without any, hey, this would and it can start from like a 3 years plan to 3 months to 3 days to 3 seconds plan. So, but make every night when you sit down, make a plan what you are doing the next day and what you would like to achieve. For example, and for me, I do this every day. Tomorrow I make my 50 cold calls or my 25 cold calls every day at the same time. So, and I told me this every day. I make every night before I go to sleep, I make me a plan. What are the 3 points I would like to solve tomorrow? And because, I don't want to make too pressure, but, give yourself some challenge. So, because then if you challenge yourself, you can learn. So, and one other very, really important point is self-reflection. So we know when we have a fight with our loved ones, or sometimes, for example, me, sometimes when I discuss something with some people, they stand nearby me, then I think so. I'm a very eloquent guy, but at this moment, no words. So, and after, like in the evening, I have this self-reflection from this conversation. Then I have like this moment when I say, hey, should said this and that. And then it comes to me like this argument should said in this moment. But the same is exactly for in sales. If you have, and this is why focus on the conversation. If you have to focus on the conversation and reflect this conversation, then you will realize all the arguments you had. You can say with all the objections the customer have, and you will learn for the next day. It makes you positive for the next day, and you don't go to bed negative because you have a bad conversation. Because every conversation you can learn or you can earn,
Yeah. I love that. Ibrahim, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. I feel like I've learned a lot for my next negotiation, and also just being reminded of a lot of like fundamentals in sales is so crucial. And in the end, guys, enjoy it. Enjoy the conversation, because in a negotiation you get to know the other person even more, and that's a beautiful thing. Ibrahim, thank you so much. As always, I will link his masterclass in the notes. I will link his LinkedIn profile. Connect with him. He is one of the nicest guys I know, and I highly recommend his company.
Thank you very much for having me here. It was a lot of fun.